Hey, this is Moa Smokes, and today we're going to be talking about the Shishabucks Cloud Tank. So I actually received the Cloud Tank about 2 months ago now, at the beginning of September 2020. And we're now at the end of October 2020, and I've been using this at least once a day for the past 2 months. Now what I wanted to do is kind of re-unbox it and then just kind of explain each component as I'm going through it before I tell you about the pros and cons and what I've learned from my experience with the tank. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring the camera in a little bit, and then you'll see me unbox it, and then explain each of the components, and then we'll go from there. All right, so here we have the tank, and now I'm just gonna unbox it. So here, just open that up. And what you'll notice is the top layer here, what I have is I have the hose handle, the down stem, the hose connector piece, and then also the hose handle connector piece. Put that aside, and we'll talk about that. And then let me bring out the actual Shisha. So here is the tank. The base, I have the top or the tray, even though it's not a tray. And then inside, you'll see that I have a hose and I actually have a grommet in there too. So here, let's put all this stuff away. All right, so this is how you're going to receive your tank. You have the tank, you have the hose and the grommet inside, and then you have this tray that has a few of the components. So here what we're looking at is we have the hose handle, and it looks like this. And then we have the hose handle connector piece. So this actually screws on here and it makes your handle a little bit longer, but it also makes it to where you can actually connect it to the hose. Now I do want to point out that the connector piece here is male. Some of them are female, some of them are male, meaning some of them actually go into the hose. Some of them you have to stick the hose into. I'll talk about that. I'll show you my actual hose when I attach it. Again, I just wanted to point this out because I know that there's two versions out there. So I don't want you to think that, you know, you got a fake one if you got a male one versus a female, or vice versa. All right, put that down here. Now we have the hose connector piece. This actually just screws in here. And the reason I'm doing this part first is actually because I need to in order to pop the tray open. So here I'm just gonna screw that in, and then I'm gonna put my thumb on the rubber bumper or on the silicone bumper. I'm just gonna pop up, and that way I can actually get in to the base. And then the last piece in the tray here is the down stem. Now the down stem is made of the same thing as the tray, and that's anodized aluminum. There are 3 O-rings on the bottom, and it has a built-in diffuser. And then there's actually a ball inside as well. And actually the down stem, all you have to do to install it or put it together is there's an O-ring at the top of the down stem here. So there's an O-ring right here. So in order to install it or put it together, all you have to do is grab the tray, go to the bottom of the tray, just kind of push that in there, and there it is. This is kind of cool because it's collapsible, so you can just, you know, take it off easily instead of unscrewing it. And the idea here is instead of risking stripping the threading, you can actually just push it in, and it's an O-ring, and those are easy to replace. So, you know, there you go. All right, let's put that aside and let's actually get this hose out. So here's my hose, soft touch silicone. It bends really easily. It's the standard size for silicone. I don't know how much more I can say about a hose. It's just a silicone hose. It's soft touch, so it's nice. So it bends really easily, but you know, that's pretty much the excitement there. It's nice that they give you one though. And then the last thing inside is a silicone grommet, and we all know what grommets are for. What I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna put this together, and it's gonna be ridiculously easy to do so because now that I've put the down stem on the bottom, all you have to do is just pop this into the base, and then you grab the hose handle, and you're just gonna pop the hose handle. If you have a male connector, you're just gonna push it in like this. If you have a female connector, you're actually going to push in the sides of the hose like this, and you're going to stick that into the bottom of the connector. Again, it depends which version you have. I have the male connector, so it just pops right in. And then from there, you're just gonna take the other part of the hose, and you're gonna connect that to the hose port. And I mean, here, just to keep it measured, I'm gonna put the grommet on as well. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna pack a bowl, and I'm gonna be smoking while I'm talking about the Shisha. All right, I'm back. I have my bowl packed. I'm actually using the Skybowl from Shishabucks. I'm using the Stratus heat management device from Shishabucks. And now I'm gonna tell you a little bit about the tank. I mentioned this earlier, but the tank is made of anodized aluminum. And for those of you that have watched my Shishabucks micro video, you know what anodized aluminum is. For those of you that have not, let me just give you a quick summary of what anodized aluminum means, because I'm sure you hear this term a lot. Anodizing is actually a process that makes it so that the color is fully integrated with the aluminum. That way it doesn't chip or fade or peel or anything like that. Meaning they didn't just grab aluminum and paint it whatever color they wanted it to be. They actually worked the color into the material itself. The actual process of anodizing makes it to where the metal itself is converted into something that's more durable and corrosion resistant. That's why I've had my micro for years now, and there's no rust on it, and it hasn't faded, it's still red, etc. And you can see that in the video that I made for the micro. I say that to say this is the same process they use with the tank. This is the same process that they use with a lot of their shishas. Now, what's the appeal with the tank? The tank was made to be the perfect travel companion. The tank is made to be, a smaller version of the micro that you can more easily store into a backpack or a suitcase or, your back seat or wherever you put your travel shisha. The color that I'm using is called Double Black. Double Black adds $5 to the price on the Shishabucks website. So the retail price for the tank is $110. The Double Black will be $115. In regards to the weight, this thing is actually just shy of 2 pounds. Like I think it's 1.9 pounds, meaning it's extremely light. It's pretty easy to just, like I said, store into a backpack and not actually realize that it's there in terms of weight. Let's talk about what it comes with. So you saw in the unboxing that, it comes with the base, it comes with this top tray, even though it's not a tray. It comes with a hose, it comes with a hose connector and a hose handle, and then it also comes with a silicone grommet. The bowl and the heat management device are not included. You have to buy those separately, but again, that's expected. That's pretty much every shisha does that. Now, the one thing that is missing that I wish was there was a travel case, because the micro comes with a travel bag, and I think that's one of the coolest things about the micro is that they thought to put the travel bag in there so that you can easily store your micro. But my understanding is they're working on a bag for the tank as well, which I think will only take this thing up a notch. Now, I know I mentioned that this is meant to be the perfect travel companion, but actually because of how stable it is, how sturdy it is, and its low profile, I actually use this when I'm at a desk and I'm working on the computer. Like when I'm editing my videos or I'm editing my photos or what have you, and I want to smoke while I'm doing that, this is the shisha that I grab. And that's why I say I've been using this almost daily since I've gotten it. Because even if I want a full-size shisha, like at some point during my day, I can always have that at night where I can do this during the day when I'm actually, working on whatever I'm working on. Now I'm going to give you some specifics before I actually show you like what happens when I pull, what kind of cloud output I'm getting, etc. So to get the boring stuff out of the way, I mentioned the weight. It's 1.9 pounds, which makes it 0.9 kilograms for those of you that are not in the US and don't know how pounds work, which is completely fine because, vice versa, obviously. In regards to the size, this is 5.5 by 5.1 by 4.3 inches. And again, the translation for those of you that are not in the US means that it's 14 centimeters by 13 centimeters by 11 centimeters. That being said, I actually wanted to talk about the water level. So the base actually comes with a recommended water level. That's the thick black line that's in the middle of the base that you're seeing right now. What I found through just trial and error is that the optimum water level is actually below that. It's actually right at the tip of the top of the letters. I'm using a picture because this is the clearest way to indicate, this is where the water should be for me. And again, it's personal preference, whether you want a more restricted draw or a more open draw, you can lower it or raise it from there. But in regards to how it sounds, how it feels, my ideal was right at the tip of the letters. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a few pulls just to kind of show you the kind of cloud output that I get. And this has been on for, a few minutes now, and I've kind of been taking pulls in between jump cuts, which you're not seeing, but here we go. So as you can see, due to the short downstem on the shisha itself, it takes a lot less effort when you're pulling to produce the same amount of clouds that you would from, a traditional sized shisha or a traditional sized pipe or hookah or whatever you want to refer to it as. The downstem, as I mentioned when I was doing the pseudo unboxing, actually has a diffuser integrated into the downstem, which is new and different for Shishabucks because every other Shishabucks that I own, the downstem actually has a diffuser that gets attached to it. So the micro has, the little round thing that goes to the bottom of the downstem. Not so here. Here it's actually just part of the downstem, which is nice because it's, one less piece that you have to worry about, and it's also one less piece that you have to clean separately. Now let's talk about the cons, because there's always cons. Luckily here the cons aren't too bad. The first thing is the water level, which I mentioned. The water level that they recommend isn't actually the water level that worked best for me, and again, that's personal preference, so feel free to try it at that level and then feel free to try it at the level that I use it at. And then also feel free to go in between or under or whatever, because at the end of the day it ultimately comes back to you. The next con I want to talk about is, just like the micro, what ends up happening is condensation builds up throughout your session. So usually around like the hour and a half or the 2-hour mark, you start to accumulate water in your hose, and it's not the biggest deal. You can actually just, take the hose off, go to a sink or something, blow out the excess water, and you're good to go. You can just connect it again and it's fine. But just something that I want to point out, because it will happen, and don't be worried. You didn't do anything wrong. It actually just happens that way. The other con is that, there's no tray. The micro has a tray, like the top of it can be used as a tray. Here, I guess you could use the top of it as a tray, but I don't recommend it, and it's not what it's made for. Again, I've mentioned this before in other videos, but I have this thing that I got for $10, and this is actually what I use when I want to take coals off. That way I can ash them somewhere and then put them back onto my bowl or my heat management device or what have you. Lastly, not having a travel bag. It's kind of a rectangle with bumpers and stuff like that, so it's not the easiest thing in regards to like simple size storing. Not the biggest deal in the world if you put it, wrap it in a shirt or something and then throw it into your backpack or throwing it into a suitcase. Now let me show you how cool the purge is, because the purge I think is one of the biggest, visual draws to this pipe. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull, and I'm actually gonna blow out at the same time so you can actually see it. So as you can see, it has a nice vertical purge, meaning the smoke goes directly to the bottom of the bowl. And in this case, the angle of the Skybowl is just so that it actually goes directly up. Whereas other bowls, if they're thicker, it'll actually go off to the sides. Now I want to talk about little touches or little pieces that they've added to this to make it unique, and things that I personally really like. The first thing is there are these silicone bumpers that go onto the acrylic base. These bumpers are actually removable, which means you can take this off if you want to here and expose it. I actually really like it because it makes it to where there's a layer between whatever surface you have your base on and the base itself, meaning you won't get it scratched up as easily. It's not just sitting there on the table. It's not just sitting there on your tray or wherever you keep your shisha. And it makes it to where you can put it on the ground without having to worry about concrete scratching up the bottom of your base. It's a huge pro for me, and I feel like it's something that doesn't get mentioned enough when people talk about the tank, and it's definitely not something that's called out specifically on the description, so I definitely wanted to call that out. The next thing I want to bring up is that the downstem is actually attached by an O-ring, and I know I brought that up when I was unboxing. I really want to stress that it's pretty innovative that they did it that way. I think it's really cool because, again, you don't have to worry about stripping the threading or anything like that on the downstem. You can actually just pop it right in, and if anything ever happens to your O-ring, you can just get another O-ring. Now, I will say that in 2 months of daily use, my O-ring still looks good as new. Again, something worth mentioning that's a pro that's kind of unsung. I also like that it's collapsible, so to speak, meaning that if I put it down somewhere, like I can just easily pop it off. It makes it easier to clean. And because the tray comes off completely, the base is actually really easy to clean too, meaning I can get in there with a sponge, scrub the sides of the base on the inside. It makes life a lot easier. People may ask, oh, is it stainless steel? Parts of this are stainless steel. The bolts that they use to put this together are stainless steel, but ultimately, the shisha itself, the majority of the material is anodized aluminum, which doesn't mean anything bad. It's not like, oh, it's not good because it's not stainless steel. Actually, since it's anodized, and I explained to you what the anodization process looks like, it still makes it to where it's very durable and it's still gonna last a long time. The other pro that I want to mention is that I love how the tray goes on. So for those of you that have a micro, you know that the bottom has that silicone, and you put the silicone into the base and you got to push down, and then you like push it over to make sure that it's on perfectly and that it's sealed and all of that good stuff. This is how easy this is to do. I'm actually going to do this while I have a heat management device and coals lit at the top of a bowl. I'm just going to pop up here. You heard that little sound that just happened, and then I'm just gonna push this over and pull up. This is how easy it is to take the top off, and this is how easy it is to put the top back on. Again, there's coals on this, there's a heat management device on this, there's a bowl on this, and I'm doing all of this stuff. Here's a close-up picture of what the inside of it actually looks like. And this is what makes it so easy to actually put right back on. Now, that being said, before I take a few more pulls, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions about the shisha or have any issues that you're running into, feel free to comment that. I'm happy to answer that in the comments. Make sure you're following me on Instagram at Moa Smokes. Like I said, I'll see you guys next time. I'm just gonna take a few pulls.